to order the City of Ocean Shores Lodging Tax Advisory Committee meeting on Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Roll call.
Harold Prowse is here.
Shannon
Here.
and George.
Here.
Okay, and we do have an additional applicant to the committee. Eugene Kim, who is joining us on Zoom to observe.
Hey, let me call you back. Okay, bye.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Thank you for joining us. We need an approval of the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as printed. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Well, let's begin with an overview of the LTAC financials, so we actually know how much money we have available. So I'll turn it over to Sarah Logan, our finance director.
Yeah, so at the end of this year, we're anticipating having $559,343. So that gives us our beginning fund balance, which then we go off of what our trend should be for 2026. And so we estimate in 2026 about 1.3 million in hotel, motel, transient rental taxes to come in, which gives a total fund availability with our starting fund and our estimated tax revenue for next year at 1.9 million. I don't know how much more you want to go in. The committee was given, as we spoke about at the last committee meeting, several scenarios. So scenario one was a holdback of 40% of our beginning fund balance along with our estimated tax revenue. Another option was 30% holdback. Another option, 20% holdback. And then what matches the resolution is 10%, that 90% of the funds be available. Resolution, again, is a guideline. It's not codified, so you can, the council and committee can choose not to do that 10%. And then the scenario we always give, because the public facilities district, which is our convention center, is what's supposed to be funded first, foremost, and always out of these funds. And so we always give an option, which would be option number 5, of only funding the convention center, which would be 635,000 out of that 1.9 million.
And if you remember at the last meeting, we talked about what would be a reasonable holdback. What is the feeling on that now? We talked, I believe, generally around the 20-30% for holding back, knowing that if we do hold back and the projected revenue does come in at what we expect, that we would then make funds available again in the spring. So what's the feeling of the committee on that?
I still feel we need to be on the high end because you have a lot of hotels that are struggling right now. And I don't know, it's hard to say like what percentage of their revenue is in this lump sum number. So it's hard for me to say like what number, because I have a little bit of a fear on a couple of them. And if you don't have the revenue that you normally get on a yearly basis from them, for whatever reason, if they go bankrupt or they get closed or whatever, you know, that could impact the city. And I would rather err on the side of caution. That's my personal opinion.
I'd agree with that. The 20% holdback looks pretty attractive to me, the 20 or maybe even the 30, either one. Because you look at how much would be possibly a project ending fund balance on the 30% holdback, you get 92,000 left over. On the 20%, there's 280. And it looks like that's about half of what the beginning balance was for this year, starting this year.
Right, and that's if we fund everything 100%, so that's,
Right.
George, any feeling from you?
Yeah, I was actually leaning towards the 30% myself.
Sarah, what would be your recommendation if you have any? Yours would be 40%.
Yeah, these trends are of course on, our last year's revenue and basing that off of, and to, Ms. Rubin's point, you know, we have kind of had towards the latter part of this year some issues with a few hotels, so our trends are as good as we're gonna get them, and I will say we reserve like a lower end of the average for each month, so I feel like you could be in that 30%, but of course, I'm gonna be excited if you pick 40. I mean, and again, like Ms. Rubin said, it's if you fund everything on top of that, you know, again, we reevaluate after the first of the year and we look at the surplus money, or then we just have more for 2027 funding also.
Okay, well, how about if we not make the final decision, because we still have to go through all of the applications. But let's use the 30% as a target to begin with. Does that seem reasonable to everybody?
yes.
Hey there, just a quick question. I know I'm pretty brand new to this, but what has been the
Mr. Kim,
historical?
Mr.
Oh, sorry.
Kim. Yep, right now, at this time, you're not a voting member, so, if, I don't know if you have public comment on this one. So, yeah, at the end, if you have a comment, then they can address it then.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about, we're a little bit different this year. We do have the applicant evaluation form. And Darrell brought up, you know, what will be our methodology for going through and evaluating. So, I mean, my suggestion for this meeting is that we go through the applications, we make notes on questions that we and that we use the evaluation form at least as our guideline as we're going through. How do you suggest we approach the applications?
Are we expecting to go through them again in the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So at this meeting, you suggest that we take them as notes in preparation for the next meeting?
I think whatever works for you. I mean, we definitely need to decide at this meeting who we're going to invite back for interviews. So I would suggest, you know, if you want to make notes and if you feel that you can go through the evaluation format at this time, certainly feel free to do that. But I believe the major thing we need to decide at this is if we need clarification on any of the applications, and we need to bring them back in.
Okay.
Any comments?
I'm just gonna disclose that my brother passed away recently, and I spent probably the last week in California, and we're traveling right now. So all of the documentation I have is just in PDF form, so I don't have the forms with me to be able to score. I have a strong feeling on how I feel about most of them, but I just was not expecting that to happen, and I'm trying to participate in the meeting even though we have other things going on. So I apologize for not being as prepared as I would have liked to if I was in a location where I could print and things like that.
Well, my condolences, Shannon. And I did not feel that we were prepared to go through the evaluation and actually mark them today.
Okay.
But just to use the questions on here, is it promoting tourism, marketing? And all of the categories as questions that we have that we might need to clarify. Does that make
Okay,
sense to
yeah.
folks?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, well, the first one is Convention center operations and events. And what we are looking at here, and anyone, please feel free to jump in. We are looking at the major festivals, Hog Wild Festival, the Sand and Sawdust Festival, and then we have the
Raise your clam.
yeah. Sorry, it's just that, the Razor Clam Festival. And convention center operations for 2026. So as we look at it, the major request is really for the convention center operations going to management, marketing, tourism related activities. The funding ensures the facility remains a cornerstone for community and regional events, conferences, and tourism promotion. Are there any questions? And we have the general ledger budget that.
George, did you have anything in that budget? Because it's a long PDF and I didn't, like I said, have a chance to go through it with a fine tooth comb. Do you have like chairs or any equipment that you have factored into that budget? I know last year we did carpet, which by the way, I think it looks really nice. So I wanted to compliment you on that. The carpet change looks nice.
No, we didn't add anything into this budget. We were mainly looking at trying to reduce cost. At some point in time, the chairs will have to come back into play. I think we may be able to clean them this year and maybe bring them back on the next ask. But so this one doesn't include anything, but I would like to point out that I believe that last year we asked for 690. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, just for operation.
Plus another 45 for festivals. We're reducing that ask now to 635, and that's including festivals. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention that we are lowering the cost and bringing in more business. So
I noticed that, so I'm appreciative of that. I did just, while I'm thinking about it, because I mentioned the carpet, when I was at the last city council meeting, and I know this is petty, but I just want to bring it up so you're aware. When you have the air walls I don't know, it was however the room was set up, on the walls, there's like this big giant red stripe. And with your new carpet and stuff, it looks really funny. So just so you know that, I don't know if that's paint or what not, but it's really bright and everything you have is like in the tan colors now.
yeah, it definitely does stand out. And what those indicate is where the air walls actually go.
Oh,
So I mean, we could actually just paint a different color there, and it makes it easier for a client's perspective when they walk in.
I see.
Wall clothes, but that's where every one of those are. I wondered why they were that color even with the other carpet, but they were, so.
And anything else? So do you feel with the reduction in what you're asking that it's sufficient? Because obviously the convention center operations are extremely important to all of the tourism.
Yeah. Based off of what we're seeing as far as events that are booking for next year, we're already turning people away for September, October, November. Because we're filling it up. But we are bringing in more revenue, so I think it is. We are now, this is not planning for any emergencies that could happen, so. You know, we're just trying to do bare bones. This is what it's gonna do. So.
I do think in the future, talking about capital requests is, you know, that's part of my vision of like doing the whole back end stuff is that after we kind of get through us watching what the market's doing with the hotel motel tax money is trying to get a little like bank going for things like the HVI or HVAC that had to be replaced, the soffits that had to be replaced, so that when we do need a capital request, we can just ask for it because the money's already been slowly set aside for those things, instead of coming and doing huge capital requests to LTAC and out of the general fund for it.
And that was another thing that I was going to ask, and I don't even know if it's possible, but if let's say we settle on the 30%. Is there 10% of that we can hold back with that is strictly for emergencies, or do we just give that whole 30% off at the
Be a
end?
council decision.
So at least that way we always had a reserve for the capital.
And
So if you took 30
that's why I was asking, is having a reserve for the capital, because that's been a problem across as Sarah said, across the entire budget.
Correct.
We have a emergency and we have money to fund it.
So the holdback is a recommendation from the LTAC committee each time, the percentage of that, but whatever that ends up being, to what George said, 10% of it goes to a reserve fund for the convention center, because we have had huge projects that have needed to be funded, and it's kind of a grapple on getting the money for it.
Right, because I would like to see a reserve somewhere.
I agree.
Agree.
Okay, are there any other questions for George about the convention center request? No questions? Okay, let's proceed to the next one. Thank you, George, for what you said earlier of 9 days slate of catering. That's okay. Oh, nothing else to do that, so we don't continue to open up our binders. So next on the list is the Beachcombers and Les Boat Expo. And that's a request for $8,500. And this one does show that it is in the shoulder season. Can you hear me, Shannon? Do I need to speak louder?
I could hear you.
Oh, okay. And so whether that's picking it up from here. And what we are looking at here was marketing funds, other activities, the total cost. And it's used for the 3-week glass float release and cost of using the convention center. They also have donations and then art and float sales. So they are asking for 50% of their budget. Any questions or discussions on the Beachcombers Expo?
I'd say it brings a lot of interest. The floats and stuff, it's like always, people always feeling great about getting a float. I think this is kind of an interesting, long-term event. With a modest request.
I mean, it's been funded before, so I don't know if George, Shannon, you have any questions on it?
I don't have any questions on it. It is a event that's been around as far as I could remember, since I've been with the Canterbury, and like Daryl said, I think it's a reasonable request. But just like I would say to anyone else, when we're funding half your budget, most of these are supposed to be self-sustainable at some point. So I don't have a problem with the dollar amount at this juncture, but I don't think that every year we should be funding 50% of anyone's budget for events. I mean, the events should be having other things that are creating reserves for the events to grow in the future. But I like that it's in the off season, and I like the component of the floats. I think it actually draws out a lot more people now that have been actively marketing the floats. And I would encourage them to really focus on that because that's what the tourists seem to really like.
I agree with all of her comments.
Okay, and I think the grant application here certainly does have enough information in it. So I don't have any questions on that one.
Just to clarify the process, because there was a lot to do last time about people not being invited back on the second meeting to do presentations on something like this that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to assume we don't need them to come back. So I just want to make sure that the ones that are doing presentations, we're only having the ones do presentations that we need further information on, correct? Not something like this that's really straightforward.
I believe that's what the committee decided last time, was that you didn't want to interview everybody. That
Okay.
you only wanted to interview those that had questions. So we
Okay.
don't waste time on those we might not consider.
I just kind of
But that-
want to reiterate that for anyone who may be watching now that didn't watch the previous meeting, because there was a lot of questions about why people didn't get to present the last time. So I just want to make sure that it was clear for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Shannon. Okay, so do we agree that we don't need any more information for the beachcombers?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. All right, the next one we have is the Coastal Interpretive Center. And the Coastal Interpretive Center is asking for a substantial amount of money. They're asking for $98,921. And because of the nature of their business, theirs is year-round, not a shoulder season. And they are saying that the percentage of their budget that is a request from the city is 21.9%. And they list on page 2 where their other income is coming from.
I have a question. This maybe Sarah could provide some feedback. The last time I was in town and I went to a city council meeting, they were talking about, I believe it was a roof or something. It was a very large capital expenditure. And when I see in here, they have a $22,000 for facilities. I'm just curious on that one, because if the city is paying for building repairs and things like that, then I guess I'm confused as to the decades of deferred maintenance that's listed as $22,000.
I wouldn't have the answer to what they deem are their facility expenditures. I do know that we did, the council did approve the roof and that is either on its way to being done or is done.
Okay, so I would say at face value, that is interesting to me, but then I see they have it broken down, so, property tax is listed, business registration is listed. Um, those are costs of doing business. So, I mean, not trying to pick on anyone, but some of this isn't. If you go down to the itemized list, utilities, alarm system, copier maintenance, that's under the facility sum total. So that to me isn't the same as decades of deferred maintenance.
Other comments on that?
On their application process, when we asked about overnight ends and beds, basically, I noticed that they list a high number of like 7,100. Yeah, I'm not trying to be out of line or rude here, but I don't believe that 7,100 people drove to Ocean Shores and stayed the night just to go to the Intercoastal Aquarium Center. And that I'm sure that many people visited, but they were here in Ocean Shores when they went. So I don't know where they come up with that number, but I don't think that's a good number to come up with.
I would think that number is probably appropriate for pretty much any bar or restaurant in town. If you're in town, it's one of the places you're gonna go to.
But it didn't happen. It wasn't generated because of that facility.
I agree.
Right, and what we're looking at is generating the
Pulling them in.
the tourism, generating people to come here. Yeah, I agree with Shannon about some of the things under their facilities. Those do not seem connected to what we want to fund.
Yeah, Sarah, how much did we fund last year? Do you remember?
65, in the 60s, you have somebody in the
Okay,
60s. We did, Councilmember Cyrus did request that we provide the information of anybody that did apply and was awarded, and if they filed their, summaries at the end, so we could follow up this meeting with the people that have reapplied, what they received, and, if their summaries were received to the board.
so if it was in the 60s and this is almost 100, we're going in the wrong direction.
That wasn't the request either last year.
No, I know.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying, if last year we were only comfortable in the 60s, and there was a large conversation about self-sustaining again, then we're still going in the wrong direction, in my opinion, if we're back up to the 90s. So I'm gonna say I have more questions, but on a personal level, I'm not comfortable going above what we gave last year.
Would you like to call the CIC in for additional information at this point? What I would like to see is what Sarah and I had talked about earlier, and thank you for mentioning that, Sarah. And that's that we get a list of who has been funded previously, what their funding amount was, and their reporting. Because I think how they have reported the use of the funds is important.
Yes.
I saw that in the online paperwork,
Mhm.
it was, what it was before.
So at this point, do you want to wait for that information, or do we want to set aside CIC for coming in for additional information?
Well, I think we were just on the side at this point, correct, goes.
Okay, until we get the
Those numbers,
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you do look at their request, like Shannon said, much of their information, or much of their request is for the cost of doing business, not for bringing people into town. Okay, so we will hold off, we'll look at that added info. And then make a decision whether we need
Okay.
any more. Welcome to Stormy Nights Film Festival.
So my initial comment on this one is, I like the fact that they're trying to do something in, late October of 2026. I don't think their other date would be applicable because that would be 2027. So if this is considered, it would have to fall into the 2026 year, is my understanding.
Yeah, yes, it would. Yeah, the 2027 would not be applicable. That would have to be an application for next year.
Well, I'll add to that on this one, they have reached out and checked on pricing for the convention center, which started out as full facility. Then the next call I got was, well, how about just the breakout rooms down to, can we just get one room? So I don't know that they've made any decisions on what they're really going to do, so, I think we definitely need to ask some questions on this one. Because where they're gonna post it at, and that would be one of my concerns.
Okay. Well, obviously where they are going to host it and how many rooms they would have is critical to proceeding further on this.
Because as of right now, like I said, they have talked now about teaming up with, one of our other groups, which would be, Urban Unlimited, which honestly, with a small room like that, I don't know, if they put the breakdown in there, I didn't notice that as far as convention center rental or anything. Or venue rental, should I say, it doesn't have. The venue rental is 2,700.
Is that reasonable for the convention center?
Well, it would be, it's really dependent on what they're renting. If they're down to the one room now for two days, that's nowhere near the cost. So that's what I'm trying to figure out here is there are some questions we need to ask. Or where the venue is.
And I notice in here, Daryl, they say a takeover of North Beach TV.
Yeah, they've talked with us about doing. At the same time that this film festival is going on, in promotions for it would be to use North Beach TV to. At that time, we should be streaming out nationwide as a advertising venue for them. And I think this is a great, unique idea that hasn't come to the city before. It could be a big draw specifically for this thing, and so it's not an ancillary thing, but be coming in just to look at these movies from all over the country. If it gets-
If you read some of their summary, they're talking about like more of a Halloween type, fall entertainment. So I think that, if it's done correctly in October where it's still nice weather, for the most part, it's not torrential downpours. It could be a good thing. However, I do have questions because they have some grants that they're, besides their request to us, that they're hoping to get to be able to do this in the fashion that they've outlined. And so I would be curious where they are on expectations of getting those things, because that's at least another $20,000 in grants alone that they're looking to get besides the 10 that they're asking to get from us. So I have some questions, but I do think in concept, it's an interesting concept. And in the right season.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the Washington Arts Grant, so the question is, have they received that or are they just applying for it? The same thing with the tiered donor packages and corporate sponsors. where they're actually on that. Okay, so we will, too many questions. I also like the idea of it, that it is, something new and different that we haven't seen before, as opposed to continuing to just fund the same programs. So we will put, this one aside to, have questions with,
Yes.
Jessica Sanders. And see if she is available to, come to our next meeting, either, it looks like she's local, in person, or by Zoom. Okay, our next one is something that we have funded before. The Grays Harbor Youth Athletics Golf Tournament Dinner and Auction. And they are asking for $10,000. It is during peak season. They do list that they are charging $55 each. That the 24 and 25 funds were spent on part of the convention center's bill for the dinner and auction. So do we have any questions about this one? We have funded it before.
This one comes back, seems like every year that this, I mean, it's a good event and they're giving a lot of money away. But what it doesn't say is how much, to become self-sufficient, you can't give it all away. And how much did they give away and how much are they reinvesting in this yearly event?
And I think, you know, looking at any of the projects or a good portion of them, you know, it brings up the question that Shannon had in terms of repeating events and whether the goal is to make them self-sustaining or whether it's impossible for them to be self-sustaining.
Right.
Or not, in terms of bringing people into the city.
I'm not saying they're doing bad things, because I think they're doing great things by inviting us to all the high school kids that come from all over the state. They come here. Some it's a day trip. The evening thing is obviously an overnight.
I know that the NFL players have a lot of draw. But one thing I would say to them is to maybe look at expanding their reach of fan base a little bit more and going after like people that follow the arena football and the indoor football leagues, because and then also those players too, right? Because some of those players are well-known players within those kind of areas, and they're passionate about football too, and they might cost a little bit less than an NFL player, or you know, they might be able to bring a different draw. So I don't mind it. I know that what they're asking for is not even half of their budget. So I mean, that's good. And they don't, you know, I don't like that it's in July, but they do book hotel rooms. They do track them. They do ask the hotels to track them. Not every hotel does that for them, but they have taken the committee's feedback to heart, I believe, and really tried to make sure that they are doing what we ask of them. If you'd like to see them become, you know, to maybe not give away so much and maybe ask for a little bit more, then that's feedback I'm sure they're open to. But I don't, you know, based on, it does actually bring people in that book hotel rooms for this. And they do something for children within our community and the surrounding areas as well. I don't have as much of an issue with this one being in the summertime based on what it's doing for children.
They do say in their application that, in the past years, an average of 40% of the patrons, along with their families, stayed in hotels for the weekend events. Did you see, people staying at your place, Shannon?
Yes, every year we have had people that have stayed and we offer discount codes if they mention that. So that's how I know that people have booked for this. So, and like I said, they have asked us to track. So we have been successful in getting bookings. Now, I don't know if we're not essentially paying for the, $10,000 worth of hotel bookings, but they are doing something for the community and there are hotel bookings off of it.
And to Shannon's question to all of the, it says here in the application, excuse me, I knew this already, that all the NFL coaches donate their time. So
Okay.
they don't pay for them, so most of them are pretty well off, and it's a chance for a good old boy network reunion for many of them. So they come here and it's a good time for the coaches, for the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just saying as far as fan reach goes to try and like maybe diversify a little bit.
So are there, questions or feedback we have for, Dana Leduc? Or is it pretty self-explanatory?
In my opinion, it's self-explanatory because they've done it so many years.
Yeah, and they've been successful. They're bringing people in.
Yeah, and they are tracking them. Okay, we will not request them to come back. Or to come for an interview. Okay, and the next one is for a 2026 Master Gardener Garden Tour and Plant Sale in Ocean Shores. Well, this is partially cut off. We have held this event since 1997, with 67 home gardens.
They included it in their packet, additional documentation as well, though.
Okay,
Yeah, since
Have we funded it before?
no,
So how many years did this say that they've been having?
yeah. And
28th.
yeah,
I'd just like to draw attention to something on the application. They're estimating a 20 person or 20 nights or 20 hotel rooms. They're asking $4,500. So that's essentially $225 a night that we will be paying them to bring in that few hotel rooms. I mean, I'm not trying, it's putting heads in beds, but it's, in July,
expensive way of doing it.
it's in a summer month, in peak season, where hotel rooms are, I mean, at least where I am, that's a studio price. Our average rate is higher than that. So I just,
It is during peak season. It says this is their 28th annual garden tour. The last one was in Ocean Shores in 2019. I think, one of the questions is, is it really bringing new people into Ocean Shores? What they are looking for, it appears as if, the $4,500 is primarily for, marketing information. And they are looking at, their request to us, being, 60% of their budget. Which seems pretty high to me.
They also state the application is a fun day trip. So they're hitting semi-local people. It's an interesting thing where you drive around and go to different locations, look at the gardens. You're gonna bring people in from Centralia Shales, Olympia. And from the
I don't know, will we be bringing them in or will they have their own? Because a lot of the cities have their own. And, you know, certainly, what people would be growing here might be different, just because of, you know, soil and farming.
I'd also like to say that under the ask of, you know, their expenses and stuff, I mean, of their budget, some of the things are, you know, the cost of doing this type of thing. So, I mean, it's just a large ask when you look at what you're getting in hotel rooms for it.
I don't have any objections to it, but I'm not, I guess I'm kind of like Shannon, where I'm not really sure this should be funded as much as the request.
So right now, before we do our evaluations, are there questions that we need clarified, or is there enough information here for people to make their own assessment? I agree, Daryl. I'm not sure I agree with all that they've asked for, but, for me, I think the information is here.
It's all here, yeah, I agree.
That
Yeah, I don't have questions about,
bring them in.
I'm in agreement on that.
Before we proceed, is this process working for everyone in terms of going over the applications, or, is there something else we're missing?
It's working for me, it's working for me.
It's been fine for me.
All right, this is another request from Master Gardeners. This is Dig at Shores project. And they are looking to bring a demonstration and information garden designed to bring garden tourism to Ocean Shores all year long. The garden will be a destination constructed to bring incredible beauty and education to tourists and community members alike, while enhancing all other community activities and festivals. And it is listed as ongoing, operating during peak shoulder and off seasons. And the request is for $30,000.
When I read this last night, I was looking through this and I thought, oh, this is like the community garden, but it's obviously looking at it again. This morning, I thought, oh, this, I get it now, where it's a destination attraction for the city of probably local plants and things that you can grow here on the coast. Big tomatoes and such.
And in the projected budget summary, it does say that construction of the garden has been divided into 4 phases to be completed as time and funding allows. Phase 1 will allow the food bank donation portion of the garden to be implemented. And I was a little bit curious as to what that actually meant.
It just seems like this is a capital request and not. I mean, it's back to like dog park requests and playground requests.
Well, and if you look at phase 1 under cost of materials, they actually are pretty much all capital. You're talking about fence, arbor structure, garden beds, plant labels.
And then my concern is if they don't continue to get funding, then if this is just a phase 1 of it, then how it, I mean, it won't continue to happen and I'm just gonna be the one to be blunt. I think that this is a huge stretch. I'm not saying that I don't think a garden would be nice, but I think it would be a huge stretch in funding it.
Anyone else agree?
I would agree with Shannon on that.
Yeah, lots of capital expense, and I did like the shape, the uniqueness of the structure that they're gonna have the garden in. I thought that's kind of clever. It's a good location. They've got a lot of community backing. But yeah, it's a lot of capital expense.
I agree with Shannon too. I'm concerned about a phased in project. Whether it continues and what it could, and how long it takes for it to proceed. I think this might be something that as they were near the end of the project and they were actually ready to bring in tourism and get garden tours, that might be another time to reapply. But I don't see that our role here is to actually have them to establish a garden.
That's a good point.
I just, I was on the. I just remember all the comments about other things and I've been really trying to make sure that as an LTAC member that I'm cautious of the community's feelings on what is appropriate and not. And I think we need to get away from doing capital things.
Yeah, I appreciate that history. So we don't need them to provide us information. We have enough to make our decisions. Okay. And our next one is Art in Action. Seasonal classes, workshops, and exhibits at the Gallery of Ocean Shores. The Gallery of Ocean Shores proposes a year-long series of art workshops and seasonal exhibits designed to attract overnight visitors, stimulate local spending, and position Ocean Shores as a cultural destination. They're looking at events in March to December. So that covers both our peak season as well as non. And what they will feature: monthly hands-on classes, workshops in watercolor, pastels, acrylic, pottery, fused glass, stained glass, and jewelry making, quarterly themed exhibit showcasing local or regional artists, timed to coincide with the seasonal travel piece, spring break, summer, fall colors, holiday market, and 6 studio tours where guests meet artists for live demonstrations. And they are looking for a total of $12,500.
The only issue I have within their thing is that there's like a large sum of money that's compensation for workshop instructors and exhibiting artists. And typically, from my understanding of the ones I've attended myself, the artists also display their work to be sold. So it's almost as if you're paying them to come sell their goods and teach a class. So I like the idea of the classes. I think that it would provide for us something to do. I think it has a good draw, but that component of the proposal, I'm a little leery of.
Other reactions to that?
So I guess I would have a question on this if I were to vote for it, because I would want to know if that was removed, would they still do this? And I would want to know for sure that they're not selling their goods, because otherwise you're double dipping. If you're paying someone to teach a class and then they're selling things on top of it, then I mean, is it a reduced fee, or the calculation is bothering me.
Other questions?
But I super like that it would be year round.
Yeah, I like that it will be year round, and I also like that they included the visitor count and where the people are from. Because I'm assuming, you know, some of those, especially when you're looking at Tahoe, Portland, even places like Bellingham, or Lake Stevens, assuming that people will probably be staying overnight.
My other question would be too, if we funded this and then, you know, their artists don't show up, then are you refunding the money to us? Or, you know, like, how do we ensure that it's a little bit different than a one day event where George has it on his calendar and it's going through the convention center and you know it's going to happen, right? So there's a lot of trust in this that it's going to be maintained through the year and that the workshops aren't going to get canceled. There was another applicant that had asked for money previously, and they had asked for some money to do some shows a previous year. And when they didn't get funding, they canceled their shows, even though they had said that their shows weren't contingent on funding. So I would like to put that out there because it has happened before.
You know, I think we need to put this group in the interview pack. Because when there is also going to be an event like that, which is ongoing through the year, since we are switching to more of a reimbursement model, that would need to be worked out as to how that would be, how they would be getting their money. Next one. It is for North Beach TV. And rather than reading through this, would you walk us through it, Daryl?
Well, I could summarize it. I
Go ahead, we'll summarize it.
feel I should recuse myself from any evaluations on it.
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
you will, yes, you will recuse yourself from evaluation, but you can explain it to us.
I have lots of ethics training at Bones. It's basically to continue on streaming of North Beach TV, where we had the money from last year and they're starting to stream now. We're doing stuff on YouTube and we will be going 24/7 on Roku very shortly. I'm not sure when. So this application is to continue to go on Roku for next year and to add other platforms to do that, like oh gosh, there's Android TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Samsung TV, amongst other free apps. So it'd be free to the people, and we're already getting recognized as a advertising and video production house for people. And this would be another advertising stream that other people could use to promote our channel, to promote their products on our channel. So it's not for the people in Ocean Shores, but it's for the people that can't get cable, which is by definition anybody that's out of town. And we're increasing advertising sales, and that's coming up. And we're doing the draw to this channel is the fact that we're doing Ocean Shores themed video projects on our own. That's not advertised. So we do the football games, we do the city council stuff, we get paid for that, but we're looking at doing county council meetings and school board meetings and other things that be of interest to property owners that don't get cable or remote property owners. So, and we've got some data on some of our programs and the number of people that have viewed them, the number of views on our show, on our things on YouTube. Anyway, it's in a nutshell.
Okay, and you are looking for your request as
20,000.
yeah, as 10% of your budget.
Yep.
Any questions from Shannon or George on North Beach TV?
I don't have any questions, but I feel like I understand that the viewership and the exposure gets Ocean Shores as a whole out there. And, but I also feel like it's a slippery slope when we're talking about like capital and business operations, where if it's not doing a lot of tourism related content and it's just more generalized content about Ocean Shores, where there's a fine line between the two.
And I guess the question that I would have is, you know, by reaching a national audience, what does that really do? I mean, I appreciate the statistics that are provided here, but what does that really do in terms of bringing people in to the city and benefiting the city?
Like, are you selling space where, you know, for instance, if a hotel had a promotion, they could be running an ad during some of your segments so that you're offsetting some of your costs some, because then like obviously streaming might reach a viewer that might book something because they see like an ad, like kind of like when you go to the cinema and they have like those ads rolling before the movie and you think, oh, that's a great realtor, I might list my house with them. Is there, when you're doing these shows and things, I don't know because I haven't watched North Beach TV, so I apologize, but is there a way to tag tourism onto it more so that you're enticing people to come?
I can answer that. Yes. So we've got, we do simulcasts of KOSW radio and KXPB radio. And during that time when we simulcast the radio, there's no pictures. So we add pictures to it. We have a background of either the surf or a lake or stars. And we have a slide that comes up and it pops up for 30 seconds and it rotates through. And on those slides gives you information about Ocean Shores. We have pictures of deer and bears and ducks and things, as well as all the committee meetings that the city has are publicized there. We've got one going right now that says that the Damon Point, the island is closed. Another one about the traffic situation with an overlake bridge is closed, so that comes up all the time. I've been talking with the assistant fire chief, because he's gonna be taking a new role in emergencies operations, to give him credentials to interrupt the programming with immediate bulletins. So if there's a house fire someplace and certain roads are closed, that could come up. But that's for local stuff. But for international or nationwide would be information on things that happen at the convention center. When we look at the convention center gallery, and if it's free admission, we promote it on the channel for free anyway. So PSAs, food bank, veterans breakfasts, think of things, but there's a bunch of stuff that we promote on the channel.
Okay, any other questions for Daryl? Do we have enough information here to make a decision?
Yeah.
Okay, and the next one is for the fourth New Year's Eve Beach Bash, held at the Convention Center by North Beach Independent Media. We have funded this in the past.
Just a note that it was funded in 24 for 25, but 25's event obviously hasn't happened.
Right.
So there's gonna be no data except for in 23, 4. Yeah.
24, yeah. And they received, and it's, 10,000 in 2024.
And the ask was 20,000 then also.
Okay. And they are looking for 54%. Ticket prices are flexible, but could be a direct effect on attendance. At a proposed budget of 46,000 with a request of 25,000 from us. And it did say in 2024, with the funding that they had received, they took a loss of $3,782.08. So quite precise with their budget.
It is one of the few things that's big events in the area for New Year's Eve. At least according to the advertising I've heard from other things, but there's almost every bar has got something going on that night. But this is a big, big gathering.
Any questions on, the amount that they're asking for? Again, I think this is, brings up that ongoing question of, sustainable events.
I think in fairness to them, the first year that they got funding, they didn't know if they were gonna get funding and it was kind of like thrown together. And so they did have a loss. And so, I feel like had they done more planning and marketing, which I don't know what this year is looking like, but I feel like it would have been a little bit better received. I did have someone that attended it and they said that the food was phenomenal and that George did a great job. And they said it wasn't a bad event. So now it wasn't someone who booked a hotel room for this event. It was someone that I asked to go to get their opinion of the event. So I feel like it's not horrible, but it's definitely a large increase and I wouldn't want someone to completely lose money, but I don't. There's ways to fund things and to try and like plan all year round or all year to market things and use. I'm not seeing a lot of people leverage the hospitality's role in events. So people should be, in my opinion, working with hotels the entire year to be selling packages for these types of events where something happens or some exclusive thing happens for the hotel guest, or they get a discount or they get something to combine it with a room. So then there's also a responsibility on hotels to promote these events. So like, if people were coming to me saying, hey, Shannon, we have an event on New Year's Eve, we're going to give you a slightly discounted ticket. Can you discount your hotel room? Then as the hotel, I would also have a skin in the game to advertise and market these events out. And I'm not seeing a lot of that. And so it's just food for thought for people that are doing applications, because when you're talking about how you don't have enough money to market, well, I could run Facebook ads too, but I'm not going to run Facebook ads for events if I'm not partnering with them per se. See what I mean? Like, so for instance, the Irish Music Festival, who in the entire time I've been here has never asked us for money, goes to all the hotels and says, we will provide you transportation for your guests, but you have to give us X amount of rooms. And there's a bartering give and take system. I'm not seeing that with a lot of the events that are coming to town. And that's some food for thought for these promoters is you need to create partnerships with hotels so that they want to market your events. So that, like on this one, if I know it's coming in 2026 and you're working with me and giving me so many tickets at a discounted rate, and I'm selling my hotels, I have, I could start in September marketing for something. And then in your applications, you don't have to say like, well, we just didn't have enough money for marketing. So there's multiple ways to achieve the end result. I don't dislike the event. I think it's, something to do on New Year's Eve. It's the right season. I just think maybe the ask is a little high, but it's not horrible either. So there's that.
So the question, do you have?
Yeah, I would think the question would be on that one is, have them, let's go ahead and bring it back and let's go. What they can do it for, I need to be given the opportunity to get a reduced amount, because I think this is a good event. I can see this event growing, so I think that's a question we need to ask.
Okay, yeah.
Bringing them back. Okay, the next one is the Corgi Beach Party. And the organization name Ocean Tree Food. And they are requesting $5,050. And it is for peak season, June 15th to September 7th.
So I'm gonna just comment on this because I think they threw something together this year with no money from us, if I'm correct. And
Yes.
they brought in a lot of people for this event from out of town. There were little corgis all over that beach. I actually had an employee that went and took some photographs of it since we're pet friendly. And we did get hotel bookings off of it. So again, I don't love that it's in July or in August, but it did bring a lot of pets to Ocean Shores, and corgis are one of those breeds that have a big following. So I don't, I liked the concept of the event. And it was really neat to see the beach full of little corgis all over the places. And I think that they did a good job with limited resources last year. So I could imagine that they would do very well if they had quite, more funding and the ability to market better.
And on their application here, they did say, based on an after event survey, 37 people responded that they stayed in Ocean Shores for the weekend. In addition to those who just spent the day.
And I could tell you that for us, it was a 2-night stay. So
This is another one of those unique things that I think that could be built up and get really big. I mean, there's some potential here.
And they are asking for 20% of their budget. Any questions about it? I did not attend since my dogs weren't welcome. So they have the same body type, so,
You dog eat those dogs?
but it did seem like it did bring a lot of people to town. Any questions about it, or is it self-explanatory?
I think it's self-explanatory.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the application, Shannon?
I don't, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Okay, the next is a new application, as was the corgis. And it is to provide guest service goal training to employees in the city who interact with tourists. And this is a year-round program, like several of the others. And the organization it's coming from is the Ocean Shores Hospitality Collaborative.
I think the question on this, and I'll just take that, is I'm dealing with some of the things I have in the hospitality part of the convention center, as far as working with hotels. I think this is a very much needed training at Ocean Shores. I think it would definitely help a lot of our employees that are down here to learn the standards and what it is, to have a standard and be proud of what you do. I think this is a lot of money, and I think we need to maybe bring her in and see if there's something we can do to reduce this cost of being a pilot program. But I think, honestly, I do think that, some kind of training is better than what we have right now.
Any,
I would like to ask more questions too, because I'd like to know what the difference is between this training and the program that's available at Grace Harbor College. Because in researching this, about, well, where's other hospitality training, and they've got an accredited program there. So I'd like to ask what the differences are.
Well, I'm just going to speak on that just because, so to go to the accredited program at the college, you have to go enroll and you have to go take the class at the college. And you have to, as an employee, want to drive to the college and do these trainings to become experts in hospitality. And they're usually over, you know, the course of the class. It's not like a one-day training, right? These are, in her outline, are segmented trainings on specific topics addressing different areas. So there's talking about food handler safety, there's talking about customer service for hotels. So it's targeted training that is delivered in a workshop format for and localized to Ocean Shores. Now, I'm sure that there's questions on it, and I wouldn't mind asking some questions, but I am in agreement with George. You know, we don't provide people with a lot of resources to be better at their jobs in Ocean Shores as employers. I am probably one of the only companies that I know of that actively encourages people in the off season, because I will pay for it, for them to go take these kind of classes online or customer service training classes online. And that's because I would rather them do something online while they're working for me, sitting there with very little customers. But that's not the standard in Ocean Shores. And I did appreciate that there are reviews in here of like service, you know, of different things that they've experienced in Ocean Shores. And you have everything from amazing to absolutely, I would never come back. And as a city, I think we need to be more proud of what we're offering people. And, you know, sometimes people say that, like, I'm not, I guess, wavering on what we offer. So when someone calls and they don't like our rate and they say, well, I could book down the street for $100 less a night, I've trained my staff to say, okay, I hope you enjoy your stay, and not argue with them, because at the end of the day, I know I'm providing a clean, friendly product. And if someone wants to be more conscious and go someplace else, then that's on them. But I really do feel like there, you know, it does need to be some sort of training. And I feel like in the long term, this does bring and put heads in beds, because the better experience we could have, the more times people want to come back here. So I'll give you an example. If someone's driven 4 hours to get to Ocean Shores and they arrive to a cranky front desk person, they're not going to have fun. And then they're hungry. So then they want to go get clam chowder someplace. And if they go to a restaurant and they have bad service, then, you know, not only did they have a cranky front desk person or a non-clean hotel, but then they have bad service on top of it. So if we could collaboratively work together, and this is a big if, you know, I think it does better for the whole community. My understanding of this program is that it will be open to the businesses that want to participate. That's the caveat. You can't make someone participate, right? So there is that too. So in concept, I think it's good, but I think we do need to ask questions, just because participation in something like this is going to be the key to the program's success also. So we would need to know how we promote it out to make them successful, because it also has, like, there needs to be buy-in from everyone on this kind of thing.
yeah, one of the things that I liked about it was that it goes beyond the lodging. You know, we're trying to address some of the issues with our hotels, but it also talks about lodging, restaurants, attractions, and tourism services. The questions that I have are a couple of them. One has to do with the turnover in our industries, in our restaurants, and all of our retail. On the other hand, if people are trained and they go to a better job within the city, then that's all positive. But I think the participation, just looking at how few people are participating in the hotel coalition. I think participation and getting people buy-in to get their employees onto the program would be an issue. And the other concern I have, and we would need to talk to Lauren about, is having a full-time person, paying for a full-time person to coordinate. So do we agree that we need to bring her in?
Yes.
Okay, and then we have our last applicant. Which has received funds from us before. And it is from the Ocean Shores Marketing Coalition. And they are asking for $245,000. The 245 and 19. 245,000. And I do think particularly on this, it's critical to see the reports that they have submitted in the past. I have received emails asking me for those reports. And just as a reminder, we do have to change rules for this committee. And that people who are funded will be requested to give reports, not just to the finance department, but also to the committee in the future. And we will work out our meeting schedule for that. So we have lots of charts here. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question. I have a couple observations for the committee, for those who are listening, and for the applicant itself. So I was on the committee of this applicant when they first started, and I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm highly disappointed in the way that it's gone. I don't think that the vote that was given to fund this large dollar amount, I'm not saying they didn't try. I'm not trying to take away what they did from them, but I don't know that it produced the results that personally I was hopeful for. I was much more hopeful for inclusive marketing, and I don't find their marketing inclusive of everyone in Ocean Shores. And I'm going to use their website as an example. If you go to their website right now and you click on the drink and food and drink tab, the board members who are on this board, their businesses are listed first. Same thing on other tabs. I know that throughout the year when I was getting community feedback, I was told by a lot of different businesses that they felt like they were tired of seeing the same businesses profit from these funds. And I provided that direct feedback to their board and said, you know, I'm getting a lot of feedback where people are telling me like, you guys really need to be more inclusive. You need to include other companies and yourselves less. And I just didn't personally see that a lot. I'm not saying they didn't try, but I know even on my own hotel, there was a post recently that went out about dog-friendly hotels in Ocean Shores. And I think if you're stewards of money in this sum. You have to be inclusive. And I made a comment on that post, thanks for excluding us. And I guess it wasn't well received because I understand that the mayor got a comment about me making a comment about that. But if you're holders of this kind of money and you're going to say, these are all of our pet-friendly accommodations in Ocean Shores, you need to list all pet-friendly accommodations in Ocean Shores. Not just some of them, not just your own. The other thing is on their website, they have a hotel booking engine. It's not monitored well because when they started, our hotel was on there and you could book. After I heard that they complained to the mayor about me, I went on the booking engine and asked if we were to see if we were listed, and apparently there's a technical error and we weren't listed. I'm gonna take at face value that they're not lying and that there was really a technical error and it wasn't because I pissed someone off that I wasn't listed. But I will say there were also other hotels on that site that weren't listed. And if you're gonna be marketing for the city, you have to include everyone. Otherwise, you're marketing for yourself and I'm paying you to market for yourself and it's not fair use of tax dollars. That's my rant about this one.
I noticed that too, and I went to the webpage. First thing I saw was the same thing that Shannon had identified. And I also looked at the one of the charts, which brought my attention was about where they get where their direct engagement summary on their chart on page 4 notes. And it had desktop, mobile, tablet, and then smart TV, none. And I thought that was interesting, being a TV person.
I'm not trying to take away anything anyone tried to do. I'm just saying that we have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens. And I've had more questions about this particular applicant than any other applicant. And knowing that you're under the microscope, when someone brings up to you that there's businesses that don't feel you're marketing inclusively, you have to course correct and you can't keep doing what you're doing because it's going to just create more strife. And I'm personally tired of all the comments I'm getting that are negative. I have more negative comments about people that don't feel like they're being marketed for than those that do. And another topic I will say, when people are asking hotels donate rooms for film crews, vendors, I don't care what it's for. When you're asking a hotel to donate a room for your vendors, you do not no-show those hotels in the middle of summer. So this hotel, we got asked to set aside rooms for parties to do filming, and we had a no-show with no notice in the middle of summer. We lost $600 for this organization because no one had the courtesy to tell us that the people weren't coming until the next day.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback, Shannon. Anything from George? Do we have enough information here or to
I think that they need to come back and explain some of the things, the concerns that Shannon has brought up here, that why are you not marketing everyone in the city? And being fair with them, so, I think there are quite a few questions on here. And that's a lot of money for marketing, so I think we need to look at this one really well.
Well, I do too. As many of you may remember, I had questions about the amount of money and how it was going to be spent in terms of marketing last year. And I'm also, concerned about the standard that we're holding other applicants to versus this in terms of their first why is it a challenge? And they mentioned that they have intangible goals and outcomes. Destination marketing aims to shape perceptions, build brand identity, and inspire travel, all of which are emotional and psychological. And while that may indeed be true, we are holding our other applicants to beyond the emotional and psychological. So
I
I
would-
would agree that that there are questions here that we need to,
I would wonder if you guys
Understood.
would entertain allowing the city clerk's office to also collect perhaps community questions regarding this, especially this application. I don't care if you want to open it up to anyone else that we're also asking to come back. But I feel like I've seen more Facebook posts and comments about why haven't they reported this or why haven't they done that? And I feel like it might be helpful to the community to actually ask their questions in a format maybe ahead of time, so it could be submitted to them that these are some of the talking points that we would like you to address. This is what the community is concerned about. If the city clerk does not get any public comment or concerns, then that's one thing. But I just, in the sheer amount of negative comments I've seen where people have gone on tangents about why this, why that, I think it would be wise and prudent to us to maybe open it up to the public to be able to submit some of the questions that they'd like answered on top of ours, just because of the dollar amount, if you guys are amenable to that.
yeah, absolutely. And I certainly have gotten questions about that. And the ones that I have gotten, I have forwarded to Sarah. And we will now open it to public communication. Do we have any public here who would like to speak?
Online.
Okay, let me see if there's anyone here first, John. Anyone? Nope. Nope. Okay, you're up, John.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I just have a few comments regarding the convention center. Those reams and reams of pages of financial data was all for 2025, not for 2026. So it's not wasn't very helpful looking at the future. But one of the things important is I've heard nothing about the how much money has to be held back for the pay the debt on the convention center. Maybe you guys have it, but it's not in the agenda or anyplace else, and neither are the breakpoints for the 10, 20, 30, or 40% holdback. I'd like to see those numbers too, and how they were calculated. Also, I want to ask again about your discussion about capital expenses. That's been discussed many, many times at these LTAC meetings. And I'm just repeating what the RCW says, 6728.8116, and it says that that the LTAC money can support operations and capital expenditures for tourism related facilities owned or operated by a city. So a city like the convention center can do capital and expenses, but it makes very clear supporting of operations for tourism related facilities owned and operated by a nonprofit organization doesn't include capital. It's operation only, and they have to be a 501c3. And that should be a parameter that you'll be looking at is a facility being asked for operation money, and are they a 501c3? Because those two things go together. You haven't said anything at all about, you mentioned it, that you're switching to a reimbursement model. And I'd like to hear some comments about that because the LTAC is not going to be in a lump sum. And who's going to control any request to vary from reimbursement model to a lump sum? Is that going to be the city, or is that going to be the LTAC committee? Because the application says that the whole program is being run on a reimbursement basis. But I heard earlier discussions at the last meeting about waiving that requirement and who's going to be doing the waiving. So those are my comments, and like, for example, that garden project, that was 100% capital. That's a construction project. That's capital, and even if they are a 501c3, that organization is not eligible for LTAC money because only LTAC money for operations only if they're not a city. That's what it says. So anyhow, I just want to make those comments. Thank you.
Are there any other comments online?
I thought Eugene had
Yes,
his.
please.
Gina?
If I'm out of order, please tell me. I'll wait.
No, you're fine.
I just wanted to say that I had some experience with the hospitality training. And the difficulty with that is that many of the employees were not given the time available from their employer to attend. They wouldn't endorse it. They wouldn't support it. It was sadly not taken advantage of. And this has happened twice that I know of, that a big push had been put through to have training and it just wasn't taken advantage of. And I think that probably the culture, Shannon is the exception to the rule. I appreciate the fact that she's been very vocal and very honest about her opinions about some of the applicants. And I have to tend to agree with a lot of what she said. But as far as the training of hospitality, which is essential, but unless you get the employers on board first, this isn't going to fly. I just think that if there was a way to get it so that it could be online and encourage them to do that, that might be a better option. But as far as my experience with business managers or owners, they didn't think it pertained to them. And that we had a big push for an advertising campaign 10 years ago and could not get the employers to support having their training. So I just wanted to share that. And again, I am one of the ones that have complained about the way the marketing group has operated. And I just feel like I would really like to see this committee not give them the funding that they've asked for. I think that there's some other things that are going on that might be more beneficial for the convention center as well as for the city and the businesses. And I do like the fact that Shannon mentioned the fact that there should be package deals for working with the hotels to get things going. That's a missed opportunity. But I also thank you for being on this committee. I know that it's not fun, especially when you hear me complaining, but I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else online? Eugene?
You have to unmute.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, just there's a lot of great things that were mentioned on the call. I think that you know, as a hotelier in town, representing two hotels, specifically Comfort Inn and Hotel Mar Vista, I think you know, prioritizing funding so that we can get more local events, especially during the shoulder season, is fantastic. I think I like a lot of what has been said, including what a lot of actually what Shannon said as well. I just had a quick question, I guess. I wasn't aware of the Corgi Beach party that happened this summer. And I'm just sort of curious if this is specific to only the Canterbury Inn or if that's open to all hotels. This is like my first meeting that I ever joined, and I just want to make sure that there's not some sort of conflict of interest. I don't think that was the intention at all, but just wanted some clarity on that point. And I didn't quite, so that's point number one. Point number two, I didn't catch the name of the previous person who spoke, but yeah, I actually highly encourage my employees to receive training similar to what Shannon mentioned as well. There's a lot of online material. I don't know if we can bring in the rest of the owners to really push for additional training. You know, I would be supportive, but the dollar amount is something that I am a little concerned about. Not to mention, I just hopped on a call for the first time with Washington Hospitality, which is a group that supports the hospitality sector in Washington State, and it seems like they have a lot of resources. Again, I don't know everything. It was my first call with them, but I would hate to have there be another organization, which I'm not necessarily saying I'm not supportive of, but that there isn't some, if there are resources that already exist, what can we do to sort of either differentiate a little bit more so that we're not cannibalizing on each other, and especially for organizations that have existed already. I'm not saying that this new coalition could do or collaborative. I forgot which one it was. I think it was collaborative. Could do better if they can. Great, but I just would hate to there be an overlap of services when those resources already exist. Thank you.
Is there anybody else online who has public comment?
I think Lauren does, but before she comments, can I address 2 things that he brought up?
Absolutely.
So, regarding the Corgi Beach Party, they had not asked for any LTAC funding, and they had asked for us to give a discount for rooms last year. So we offered to do that. It is not inclusive of us. There is a spot on the application this year that has asked, have you worked with hotels, and if so, are they offering you a discount? I believe it was the one in October, had some other hotels listed as well. I would encourage anyone who is having an event to reach out to all the hotels and to, because not every hotel is a fit for a traveler, right? So not everyone will want to stay at the Canterbury. Maybe some people want to stay at the Comfort Inn, and try and get as many hotels to give discounts as possible. And let your attendees know that all, so that they could go book wherever they want to book. So to answer the Corgi question, I think he just listed it. You'd have to ask him, but it's definitely not inclusive to me, and I could recuse myself on voting on that if it makes people feel more comfortable, just because we did offer a discount. But again, any event should be asking hotels for discount. It's kind of standard procedures for booking. And as far as the training of employees, I'll let Lauren address that, but what I would encourage is that if we proceed with this, that the collaborative, as well as just in general, the community, make it abundantly clear to employees that this is available to them, whether their boss is telling them or not. I think a lot of times we put a lot of onus onto the employer and not on the employee. So if there's a will, there is a way to do it. So if they're being scheduled out different times and stuff, or via online or whatnot, as long as it's not like your employer has to let you go, that's up to an employee too. So I just want to put that out there, because, it's great that I offer my employees training. I also can't force them to do training, even if I'm willing to pay it, right? So I don't make them do it, but I encourage it and I give them resources to do it. But, I think there needs to be a broader conversation with people about why this is important, and why it's important to have great service wherever you go in Ocean Shores, whether it's a retail store, a restaurant, a bowling alley. It doesn't matter. The better service you have, you'll want to go back to that community, because everyone's friendly and nice, and that really sells the town itself. So that's just my comments on that. And in the service industry, let me just say, the nicer you are, the more money you make. So this should be very, maybe people need to be more blunt about that. But, I had a waiter the other day that was just a really nice person, and I tipped really well just because they were just such a nice person, and it had nothing to do with my ticket price. So I think we kind of forget about that. We get really rushed, and we forget that a lot of people are tip based here.
Okay, Lauren?
Thank you. Just to go off of what Eugene said, and just to give you a little bit of information about where the collaborative is and how it got formed. It was formed at the encouragement of Washington Hospitality Association, Washington Tourism, and the National Restaurant Association, because there is no structured group within Ocean Shores that addresses the needs and all the resources that are available to the different restaurants, hotels, and basically just anything that's tourist related. And then also where I got involved is because I do a lot of work with legislators, and we realized that there are so many resources, there are so many opportunities for the hotels and for businesses that are out there in the community, yet people aren't aware and they don't have the time to go out and look for them. One of the goals of the collaborative is to meet with every single hotel, every single business, restaurant, whatever it is, and identify what their needs are, where they're struggling, and where, you know, what it would take for them to be the best business that they could possibly be, and then connect them with, you know, through commerce, through the, you know, tourism, all of that, to try and help them be the best business. I also met with our legislator and Adam Birnbaum, and he was very supportive of that idea, because there is funding that can be appropriated in the legislative session that can help in that area. And there's a whole bunch of topics that we can cover, you know, as far as creating affordable housing, getting more employees, you know, developing our workforce that would all be a part of the function of the collaborative. There's my 3 minutes.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, I don't see anybody else for public comment. So let's go ahead and review who we will be asking to come back.
I have them here if you want any.
What?
I have.
Did you make a
yeah.
list?
Yep. The CIC, Park and Heights, North Beach Artists Guild, North Beach Independent Media, the Hospitality Coalition, I think is what they call it. Collaborative, sorry, and the Marketing Coalition.
And how many is that? Yep. I just want to make sure we have the same, we all know it's the same one.
Yep.
Okay, so one more thing before our next meeting is October 21st at 10 o'clock. And that is, how do you want to proceed on the evaluations? Do you feel you have enough information for the ones excluding the 6 that are coming back to complete evaluations for those?
So want me to complete the evaluations at home and then bring it back completed?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fine.
Homework all right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll bring them back.
I have
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know, I could provide feedback to you guys on how I'd like to vote, but I just realized I have a surgery on October 21st, so I have a conflict that day. So I'm happy to vote or provide anything you guys would like, but I will not be able to participate that day.
I think you're anticipating voting at that third meeting. Right?
Yeah.
So even if it's just your evaluation sheets, that's what they'll need for the next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
And then what we can do with those evaluation sheets is collate them and see how the numbers come up.
Perfect.
And is that when you're wanting to bring people back for interviews? Is that next meeting as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So then the next meeting is October 21st, correct?
Yeah.
So then I could submit questions to you to perhaps ask on my behalf if I can't attend, and then I could listen to the recording, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, is there anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Ginger?
Thank you all for your time. Thank you visitors for coming.